Welcome to Resume Well. We're exposing the intersection of wellness, woo, and work. We've been told that the antidote to professional burnout is personal wellness, and sometimes that means confronting our inner skeptic and exploring the taboo anyway. This season, we're all about putting our intuition to work at work. Welcome to Resume Well for our very first fresh solo of 2025. And what better topic to discuss than purpose? A lot of episodes on a lot of podcasts right now are all about goals. In fact, last week I did a little review episode of one that I did back in, I think it was December 2023. And I re-released it because I listened to it and I was like, you know what? This is so timeless. And it had to do with goals, and great. But why do we set goals in the first place? We set goals because we have a bigger purpose. We want to achieve that purpose, right? We want to fulfill that purpose more like. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about purpose. We're living in an age where we have more options than we have ever had before. We have more careers to choose from, more ways to live, and more paths to take. And paradoxically, this abundance of choice has left us feeling, well, a lot of us has left us feeling more lost than ever, right? In this episode, I am going to tell you about my own struggle to find purpose and the 3 questions that clarified everything. Whether you're feeling lost or if you're wondering, oh my God, am I on the right path? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing with my life? Or if you're just simply curious about living more meaningfully, this episode is for you. We're going to look at those 3 questions. They're simple, they're powerful, and they will help you clarify and crystallize your purpose. Purpose has always been a fascinating and puzzling thing in my life. Growing up, I was that kid who would lie awake at night wondering, why am I here? About the big why of it all. Like, why was I put here? Why was I put here in Chelmsford, Massachusetts, of all places? I would read these profound quotes about finding your calling. In fact, there was this website back in the early 2000s. I'm going to age myself. Back in the early 2000s called Brainy Quotes. If you know it, you know it. And I would literally spend hours just reading quotes about purpose and why we're here. And I could not get enough. I would watch movies about people having these really, really dramatic, like aha moments where their life's purpose is suddenly very, very clear. But for me, purpose felt like, I don't know, like trying to pick up antimatter with my hands. The harder I grasped at it, the more it seemed to slip away. Then life threw me this beautiful irony. I landed in recruiting and career development, which is essentially becoming a professional purpose matcher. Every day, every single day, I was helping other people align their skills and passions with more meaningful work. I was, and I still am, by the way, the person people would come to when they were trying to figure out their next career move, their professional purpose. Here I was, someone who struggled with their own sense of purpose, guiding others towards them. And I was good at it, which was the weirdest part of it all. So the thing that really got me, do you want to know? Do you want to know the thing that really got me? It was this constant nagging fear that I was missing out on something bigger. Like seeing all of these people living these, seemingly purpose-driven lives and posting about their calling and their mission on social media. It was hard not to wonder, am I settling? Like, is there some grander purpose that I'm supposed to discover that I haven't yet? And when will that happen? Or am I supposed to have some bigger impact? How am I supposed to know what that impact is? And how do I do it? How do I do the impact, right? It was kind of depressing, to be honest, having all these questions always swirling around in my mind. And looking back, I can't help but smile at how the universe works, because while I was frantically searching for purpose, the universe had quietly and forcefully nudged me exactly into where I needed to be. So here I was, caught up in finding my purpose, and I almost missed it. I almost missed the fact that purpose had kind of found me. Sometimes when we're busy making grand plans, especially in January, when we're making these long lists of goals, and I'm all for it, but when June comes, those goals are typically gone out the window and we're just trying to get through. And at that point, that's when usually the universe kind of like rears its head and gives you a friendly little wave and just says, hey, I got this. And it often does a much better job than our carefully curated plans ever could. So looking back now, you see those sleepless nights wondering about my purpose. And they weren't just personal neuroses. Well, they were, but they were preparing me to understand the deep yearning in others. So when someone comes to me and they're like, I don't know what my purpose is. And I have all these other, all these thoughts about it and all these opportunities and all of these things that I could do. Like, I get it. I get the internal monologue happening in your head all the time because it was happening in mine. And you know what? The endless questioning, those endless questions, it made me a better listener for those wrestling with their own career paths. And even the fear of missing out became this gift because it really, really helped me empathize and helps me empathize with every single person who sits across from me wondering if they're making the right choice. And maybe that's the thing about purpose. Sometimes while we're busy looking for it, it's quietly looking for us, as cheesy as that might sound. And here's the ultimate plot twist. My obsession with understanding purpose, the very thing that kept me up at night, has become the focal point of my career. So now I spend my days studying purpose, interviewing people about their journeys, and exploring the deeper questions that once perplexed me and still do perplex me. It's not linear, this thing called purpose. It has valleys, it has hills, it has mountains. It is not linear in any way. But you know what else isn't linear? Our careers, our life. It's really not linear when you look at it. Some things are, but most of the time we think it's supposed to be linear and then it isn't. And that's when we get really distraught and confused and feel lost because we expect it to go a certain way. We expect it to follow this path and it doesn't. And it's actually not meant to. It's supposed to be windy and fun, right? And challenging. You can't have, we could talk all about flow, but flow has to be challenging. So embrace it. And the other thing is that all of those late night wonderings turned into really good research questions. And those existential crises, they became amazing conversation starters for my podcast. And every confusing moment, every doubt, every fear of missing out, they all became data points in this greater exploration of what purpose really means. The universe didn't just give me a job in careers and recruiting. It gave me a front row seat to study the very thing that I was most fascinated by. And it turns out my purpose wasn't just about helping others find their path. It was about deep diving into the mystery of purpose itself, which is so interesting to me. I could talk about it all day, every day. So look, if you are at a complete loss about what your purpose is, I get it. I've been there. I spent a lot of time journaling and thinking and talking with trusted friends about why purpose is so elusive to some and so clear to others. So I could rant, but get a pen or open up your notes. If you're driving, you can do this in your head, and I would suggest really jotting it down later and answer these 3 questions for yourself, because these 3 questions will help you clarify and crystallize your purpose. And think about them. Maybe do like a quick, once over on them and a quick answer, and then go back and really dive into it and think really thoughtfully and answer them honestly. So the first question is, what can you talk about for hours on end? And it can seem trivial or it can seem massive. It could be as trivial as, I don't know what's trivial. I don't want to say anything's trivial, but it can be as trivial or as big as you like. Whatever it is, it's something that you could talk about endlessly to anybody, even if they don't want to listen to you. Number 2, what advice do people come to you for? You might have heard that one before, but why? Why do they come to you for it? So as a career coach, people come to me for career advice. They could go to other people for career advice, but why do they come to me? What opportunity? I'll tell you why, because I'm really good at it. And because I have an irrational need to help people clarify what they're doing here. And I have a very, very vested interest in my clients. And I think they feel that. And so I think that's why they come to me. Number 3, what opportunities found you and how did they come to you? So for this one, think about a time that maybe a friend or a colleague approached you and offered you maybe a position or offered you an interview or just asked if you were interested in doing a project with them. And it probably felt a little like out of nowhere, but also really interesting. So think about those, and then think about like, how did they come to you? Was it at work? Was it doing something, like where and why? So was it at work, or was it, doing something outside of the office or outside of home, maybe at the gym, or I don't know, out to dinner, just something like that. Get really, really clear and specific about it. So think about these 3 questions. The first one, again, I'll go over them again. What can you talk about for hours and hours on end, to the point where you would be boring somebody because you're just so interested in it? It can be trivial or it can be big. Number 2, what advice do people come to you for, and why? And the why is super important. And number 3, what opportunities found you and how did they come to you? All right. Again, I could talk about this forever, but I know you have things to do. This has been such a great episode, I think, to start 2025 off. So I'm going to leave you here. We are back to doing weekly episodes, which is very exciting. And if you have any questions about this, by the way, you can always DM me at Courtney Austin Page on Instagram and Courtney Page on LinkedIn. Please give me a follow. Please subscribe. Please share. Help our little show grow. Thank you so much. And I am so excited to see you back next week for weekly episodes. Awesome. Happy 2025, everybody. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Resume Well, where we explore the intersection of wellness, woo, and work. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends, family, and coworkers. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Courtney Austin Page and on LinkedIn, either at Courtney Page or at Resume Recruiting and Development. Join us next week, and in the meantime, resume well in everything you do.